Welcome to what is now the fourth edition of John Lecture 15. We are in John chapter 21. Want to deal with a few of the events. So the first thing I would like to do is simply go back over the outline of John 21, which opens with an appearance to 7 disciples on the Sea of Galilee in verses 1 through 14, followed by conversations between Jesus and Simon in verses 15 through 19, then a discussion about the fate of the beloved disciple and the testimony at the end. So as we look at the appearance of the 7 disciples, there's quite a lot going on, and some of that is seen best in the language. And so after these things, Jesus manifested himself. In other words, he revealed himself to the disciples. So this is showing that it is another resurrection appearance. It is the fourth resurrection appearance. We don't know the exact timing of this. We know that from other sources, Jesus was making appearances for 40 days after the Passover, after his Easter resurrection, and then ascended into heaven before Pentecost. But he's revealing himself. We see this happens in several places. And so we want to go back to the beginning of the text because so many things are related. So if we go to John chapter 1, right, and we look at verse 31 in that particular case, John the Baptist is saying, I did not recognize him, but so that he might be revealed to Israel, I came baptizing water. So the purpose of John's baptism was to reveal Jesus to Israel. We can then go to chapter 2, where we have the wedding at Cana. And this beginning sign, the water into wine, Jesus revealed his glory. He gave an opening of a curtain to what and who he was. We then jump down into chapter 3 in verse 21, where Jesus has talked about these things and says, whoever practices the truth comes to the light so that his deeds might be revealed, his actions might be revealed as having been wrought or formed in God, so that the light helps to reveal that God is at work. And then if we jump down to chapter 9, verse 3, we have the blind man who was blind from birth. And Jesus says it was neither that this man sinned nor his parents, but that the works of God might be, you got it, revealed in him, right? So the revelation of who Jesus is and who God is, that's a purpose for the appearance of Jesus, for the signs of Jesus. And so as we get into chapter 21, we see that revelation, but there's one more stop on the way. And that is in the prayer of John 17, verse 6, where Jesus says, I have revealed your name, God's name, to the men whom you gave me out of the world, right? To those whom you gave me out of the world. To those you gave, I've revealed your name. And then we end up in John 21, Jesus revealing himself to them. And this is how he revealed himself. How did God reveal himself? He works through his creation, through those things that are happening. And so we have the listing of 7 people who were there fishing: Simon, also called Peter; Thomas, also called the twin; Nathanael from Cana; the sons of Zebedee, and 2 others, disciples. No mention of Andrew, no mention of Philip, who are both from the Sea of Galilee region. So we don't know what's happened to these disciples. We don't know if some of them are at their homes or where they are, but 7 of them go fishing, and they're out of the boat, and they caught nothing, nada, nix, not anything at all. And there's a guy on the shore that says, "Hey, cast your nets on the other side, and there you'll catch something." They're going, "We're fishermen. We know what we're doing." Okay, I guess we do it. But they caught so many fish. And then somebody knew that this was Jesus. So even through the appearances, even through seeing him there right after Easter, there's still something about Jesus that is hard to recognize, hard to understand. But the beloved disciple says, "Ah, that's the Lord. No one else could do this. His word to us." And they obeyed his word, and they saw that. Now, they got to the land. There were some fish placed on it, right? And then Jesus took bread and gave to them, and the fish likewise. And so there is a breaking of bread and of fish, um, symbolic in early artwork of the Eucharist. Not the wine and the cup, but the bread and the fish is the artwork that is picked. Luke has them breaking bread and then giving him fish later on to eat. So this Eucharistic concept in the post-resurrection period, and it says this was the 3rd time Jesus was manifested to the disciples, and then there was one where he was manifested to Mary, and Mary saw him and started the testimony. Now, how many fish were there? 153. Well, with 153 fish, that raises a lot of interpretive issues that I'm not going to deal with in the this video, but it is an allegory or numerical or numerological number that at least Augustine says represents the bringing together of the 10 commandments and the fruit of the Spirit. But you can check that out on your own. And the 3rd time symbolism. This is the 3rd time, which means boom, right? This is what's happened. We've talked earlier about the importance of the 3 witnesses, and here we have that demonstrated. So now Jesus addresses Simon, called Simon Peter, and says, "Simon, son of John, do you love me more than these?" Which recalls his discussion in John 1, where, of all things, right? What does he say to Simon? Then Andrew brings Simon, and he says, right? "You're Simon, the son of John. You shall be called Cephas," which is translated as Peter. Simon, son of John. Doesn't address him as Peter, he addresses him as Simon. And we have the conversation 3 times of asking whether he loves him. He addresses that he does love him. We have the sheep imagery, which goes back to chapter 10, where Jesus has the "I am the good shepherd." And so he is now enlisting Peter and perhaps others as shepherds of the sheep. And then we have, right, the "follow me." Right? Follow me. Verse 19. Follow me. Well, that sounds a little bit familiar, because when he, right, when he sees Philip, he says, "Follow me." A calling into discipleship. Happens also at other places, included John 8, verse 12, 10:27, and 12:25 and 26. John 8:12 is an interesting one, because it is right after the woman caught in adultery. Jesus spoke to them and says, I am the light of the world. The one who follows me will not walk in darkness, but will have the light of life. So he tells Peter, follow me so you can have the light of life. In chapter 10, right? My sheep do what? They follow me. My sheep hear my voice and follow me. And in John chapter 12, in verses 25 through 26, the one who loves his life loses it. One who hates his life will keep it. If anyone serves me, he must follow me. And so then we have a discussion now. Follow me. Wrapping up all of those ideas, which John is very good at doing. But then Peter sees the beloved disciple and said, well, what about this one? And Jesus says something about him. If I want him to remain, that, what is that to you? And he repeats the statement, you follow me. So we're not to be worried about other people, but to follow him. And so then this word went out that he won't die, but that's not quite what happened. And then we have a conclusion, a wrapping up. And so the beloved disciple in verse 24 says, this is the disciple who is now testifying to these things and wrote these things, and we know that his testimony is true. In John chapter 1, two disciples leave John the Baptist to follow Jesus. They ask, where are you staying? He says, come and see. One of them is Andrew. Andrew goes to tell Peter. Andrew tells Peter that they found the Messiah. Jesus finds Philip, says, follow me. He goes to tell Nathanael that we have found the one about whom he wrote. And then Nathanael gives his confession. In John chapter 6, Peter gives a confession. To whom shall we go? You are the one who has the words of life. And so everyone has made a testimony in chapter 1, except for one person. That second disciple who left John the Baptizer with Andrew and followed Jesus, asking, where are you staying? And now we wrap up the story with the testimony of that disciple. This entire book is his testimony about who Jesus is, the Christ, the Son of God, that we may have life in his name. And then the true witness. What is truth? A witness, a testimony that is to be believed. So that brings us then to the end of this particular discussion of John chapter 18 through 21 and lecture 15. Thank you for taking time to listen to these. If you have any comments, you can always contact me through the YouTube link. Hopefully it has an email. Who knows? Bye now.